We're now at grants in terms of the expenditure, and as Neil mentioned, we gave grants to the value of 8,461. There's a breakdown on screen for you. I've already mentioned the 4 festival grants that you can see in the centre there, to Cottenham Tennis, Sustainable Cottenham, Willingham Youth Trust and Rampton Friday Club, 1,200 each from the festival. Other grants given in the year to Furs House and Telegraph Street. We give them a festival grant from the 2017 festival, and they've been eating their way through that. So £151 at the top of that list was to help them promote some of their presentations that they put on in Cottenham and Histon, covering health topics of interest, so diabetes, healthy eating, things of that nature that they've done over the last couple of years. The Rampton Horse Show wanted a new class at the horse show in the autumn, and we sponsored a trophy. Willingham Youth Trust were running a pop-up cafe, and they needed some seed funding for that. Rampton Friday Club was an entirely new club set up by Moira Mould in that village. There's no facilities for a youth club prior to the Friday Club getting off the ground, and we gave them £200 to get the club up and running. We made a modest contribution to some significant costs that All Saints Church incurred in terms of the tower repairs. CVC, Adult Education, they needed some help with hall hire for their mature movers groups. These take place in Willingham, Waterbeach and Cottenham. And Willingham Wheels, Paul Knighton, the Secretary for FECA, is a member of that group, and they were running an event for Overday Centre. We were one of the sponsors, a modest amount of £100. Cotton Village College, as well as a major grant that Neil has mentioned that we had to put on hold. Really the discussions, just because not practical to really progress that one with everything that was happening at the college, but just prior to lockdown, we'd agreed to grant £1,200 to replace some sports equipment. They were in need of new badminton nets for the active badminton club that takes place at the village college, and also some new table tennis tables. And Sustainable Cottenham, Chris Ward is online from that group. They themselves were planning a major event in the village later this year, Eco Eats. I guess at the moment, still considering whether that's going to be able to go ahead as originally planned at the original time. £300 was given to that activity. And the patient participation group, they start the list and they end the list. They came to us with a proposal to install some vital racks at the practices in Cottenham and Histon. We agreed that we would give money to support the Cottenham installation, and we also wanted to clear the grant that we'd given to them from 2017's festival. So we gave an amount which totaled £500. So the grant application form is on the website. Bear that in mind when you're putting together, when you're able to, your plans and activities for the next 12 months, and do get back to us if you identify a cost with which you would like FECA considering helping with. Just a couple of things which are almost good for you to know, if I can put it that way. But FECA assets are community assets. They're not just things for our use. This all started back at the 2017 festival, when we recognised that there was a commercial advantage in purchasing certain equipment for the festival. So we're the proud owners of a coconut shy, hook a duck, and we added to that list in 2019 with a couple of upright fridges, which helped us serve cold drinks at the bar. And sadly, all the rage now, I guess, mobile hand washing station, but that might be of use. It's currently across at Neil's home, but we do have a mobile hand washing station. We just need to supply water and soap. That can be powered and used at any location. One activity that we have now spent money on was Crazy Golf. We hired that in for the 2017 festival. It was very successful, and in 2019 we hired it for a small amount of money on a try before you buy scheme. If if you like, and we raised £538 with the help of Cottenham Colts. So we decided to buy the equipment. I haven't got photos to show you this evening, but we know one or two clubs had already expressed interest before everything went into lockdown. We spent £1,300 on that. So on the basis of what we were able to achieve in the 2019 festival, we'd expect to recover our money on that investment over the course of the next two festivals. But we've also now got a valuable new asset for FECA member groups to use. Sadly, probably not this year, which is a great shame because it's a fantastic activity for families and can be used outdoors as well as indoors. And as Neil has mentioned and evidenced by the Zoom facility we're all using this evening, we've invested in a Zoom Pro subscription. It's available to all member groups to use, and lots of benefits compared to the free version. You're probably going to be alarmed though when I tell you that one of them is that the meeting duration is extended from 40 minutes to 24 hours. Probably just seems like that at the moment. We have a printer, and we put that to good use in the festival year. So we've got some costs comprising the purchase of colour and black toner cartridges and a service visit, and then the sundry expenses really relate to actually the stationery and postage for last year's AGM. So onto the balance sheet now. We've paid some money in advance. We treat the FENEDGE New Spring-Summer edition as the first of the new financial year, but it bridges, in terms of the distribution, third week of March, it bridges the financial calendar. So the monies that we received, or the monies that we paid to print that edition, are actually monies that we've paid in advance and were reflected in the profit and loss next year. Similarly, the fun run was due to be held this coming Saturday. Mark Herworth, the race organiser, had already spent money on medals and a deposit for chip timing, both of which he's intending to use when he's able to halt the event when it's safe to do so. And then at the very end of our financial year, we provided a float of £500, as Neil's explained, to the Cottenham COVID support group. And we further topped that up with two further payments of £500 just prior to the year end. I mean, it really did take off like a rocket. We had a lot of people depositing money, but we had a 7-day processing lag on the credit card payment processing service that we use, a company called Stripe. So we had to put that money into the support groups' coffers so that they could carry out the shopping on behalf of the people that had requested that help. We subsequently provided startup funding for Willingham, £500, but that was in this new financial year. And as all of the income, there's very little of the income, only about £25. The first payment made it to our accounts just before the 31st. So we're treating all of this activity as a 2021 expense. By contrast, the received in advance, the £4,099, £2,000, the advertising payments that we received prior to the year end for the current edition of the FENEDGE News, and two grants that we received of £1,000. One from South Cambs District Council's Community Chest and the other from the A14 Community Fund. And we received that money in response to grant applications that we made to enable us to add to the list of community assets by purchasing a modular stage system, which we can use ourselves at the FENEDGE Festival, but is also available to other FECA member groups to use. We know Cottenham Theatre Workshop, John Unwin, who's present on the meeting this evening, has viewed the specification and thinks that will be a great asset for the theatre workshop. I came across Steve Poole, from Cottenham Community Centre a couple of years ago when Steve very kindly ran a bar alongside a comedy evening that we ran at the community centre to kick off that year's FENEDGE Festival. And we know that we had to use a very old, well past its sell-by date modular stage system that is stored up at Cottenham Village College at the moment. And we also are in touch with the Village College right now because we're hoping that they will agree to store the system so that it's available for their use as well as for the other members of the community. So our surplus, as you saw, has increased by 8,887, and as Neil has already trailed, the assets of the group now currently stand, or stood at the end of March, £60,604. So thank you. Sorry for the long speech there. Perhaps helpful that we had a break, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, is there any questions for Bob? No, I think that's good. So thank you. Thanks very much indeed, Bob, for your efforts in terms of keeping the accounts and all of the grants. And Bob is particularly a genius at making sure that we don't miss any opportunity to raise finance from external bodies, and has delivered quite a bit in that area over the past 12 months as well.